The moment your wife tells you she's having dinner with another man, as friends, is the moment you realize how fast a 5-year marriage can give you whiplash. I used to think I'd seen it all. You don't spend 12 years in the army, half of them overseas, without learning how to read people. The way a guy fidgets when he's lying, the twitch in a hand before a sucker punch, the glance toward a hidden weapon. Hell, I could spot an ambush coming through a 5-inch, crack in a mud wall. But what I didn't see coming, what blindsided me like a sucker punch to the gut with a kettlebell attached, was my wife, standing barefoot in the kitchen, buttering toast and casually dropping a line that hit harder than any IED I ever dodged. Tommy invited me to dinner this Friday, she said, all bubbly like she was telling me about a new candle she found at Target. Just the two of us, just friends. You don't mind, right? Just friends. Let me tell you something about those 2 words. They're like the polite little sign on a mousetrap. Free cheese. No catch. But you already know how that ends. I stared at her like she'd just said she was going to moonwalk into traffic. Tommy, I repeated. Your coworker, Tommy? Yeah, she said, not even looking up from her toast. You know Thomas. From the office. He just broke up with that girl, Sabrina, or was it Selena? Anyway, he's kind of down, and he thought dinner might cheer him up. I said sure. I should probably rewind for a second. My name's Nick Rules. I'm 38, used to wear a uniform and bark orders. Now I wear sweat-wicking polos and run 3 gyms around the city. Nothing fancy, just dumbbells, machines, some loud music, and a bunch of guys trying to turn heartbreak or a midlife crisis into muscle, the usual. And Ellie, my wife, she's a real estate agent. 5'4", platinum blonde, blue eyes like she's fresh out of a Hallmark movie, and a laugh that makes strangers turn their heads. Don't let the soft looks fool you, though. Underneath that Lululemon and perfume, she's got the stubbornness of a pissed-off goat. Our marriage? Solid. Not perfect, not Hollywood, but real. We bickered sometimes, sure. She thought I was too intense. I thought she was too naive. But we laughed a lot. We played pranks. We watched trash TV and ordered Chinese food we'd regret at 2 a.m. We were good. Or at least I thought we were. Until that toast-buttering bomb dropped. I do mind, I said, trying to keep my voice even. That's not just dinner, Ellie. That's a date. She turned, blinking like I'd just accused her of plotting a heist. Nick, it's not a date. It's a friend who's feeling low. I mean, come on. You trust me, don't you? That's the kind of trap you can't walk through clean. You say no, you're the controlling, jealous husband. You say yes, you're the doormat who just handed his wife off like a slice of birthday cake. I didn't say either. I just leaned against the counter and stared at the toaster like it owed me an answer. You're married, I said finally. And he's single and straight and going through a breakup. That's not a friend thing, Ellie. That's a lonely man on the rebound thing. You're overreacting, she huffed, tossing her hair like I was the one being dramatic. It's literally just dinner. Do you want me to cancel every social thing I do just because I have a ring on? She had this thing where she'd start sentences with literally when she knew she was losing the argument. Like adding that word gave her the moral high ground. No, I said. I want you to act like a married woman. Having one-on-one dinners with recently dumped men doesn't fall into that category. The room got quiet, tense, like the moment before a gym bro decides whether to re-rack the weights or throw them down like Thor's hammer. She bit her lip and looked down. I already said yes, and there it was. Not a request, a notification. She wasn't asking. Permission. She was announcing plans, like I was her damn roommate. I didn't flip out. I didn't yell. I just nodded slowly and said, all right. She squinted. All right? Yep. What does that mean? It means, I said, pulling out my phone and scrolling through my contacts, that if this is how we're playing things now, I might need to clear my schedule too. Nick. But I was already tapping on a name I hadn't used in months, Rachel Hennings. Now, Rachel's not just a name in my phone. She's a walking plot twist. Tall, sharp-jawed, legs, like a Nike commercial, and the kind of confidence that makes boardroom execs forget their PowerPoints. She was a former client from my downtown gym who'd made it pretty clear that if I ever got tired of playing the loyal husband role, she had a locker key with my name on it. I hit call. Ellie's eyes widened like she was watching a slow motion. Car crash. Hey, Rachel. I said when the line clicked. Still up for grabbing that drink sometime? A beat, then a silky laugh on the other end. I was wondering when you'd grow a pair, Rules. Cool, I said. How's Friday sound? Silence in the kitchen. Ellie's mouth was opening and closing like she'd swallowed a bug. Perfect, Rachel purred. Send me the address. I hung up and set the phone down. You can't be serious, Ellie finally said, voice cracking a little. I looked at her, dead calm. Why not? We're just having dinner, as friends. You don't mind, right? If looks could kill, I'd have been 6 feet under the quartz countertop, but she didn't have a comeback, just stood there holding that now-cold piece of toast, like it was the last piece of her argument. I didn't enjoy doing it, but I wasn't about to play the fool. If she wanted to test the fence, I'd make sure she saw the barbed wire. I'm going to the gym, I said, grabbing my keys. You might want to tell Tommy not to wear cologne. I hear it gives the wrong impression. I left her standing there, staring after me, the smoke from the burnt toast curling in the air like some kind of omen. The thing about Ellie is, she's not used to getting matched. She plays to win, even when she pretends she's just playing. That's the thing about people like her. They test the rules, see how far the line stretches, and get real nervous when someone else picks up a marker and redraws it. She barely spoke to me that night, which honestly I preferred. Silence is peaceful. No emotional landmines to step on. Just me, the cold glow of the fridge light, and the leftover steak I nuked in the microwave at 1:30 a.m., while she lay upstairs in a hurricane of tangled sheets and bruised pride. By Thursday morning, she'd shifted to the next stage of her strategy, the guilt offensive. You know, the soft voice, the slightly puffed eyes, the casual mentions of, I don't want us to start hurting each other, like I was the one who fired the first shot. I nodded through it like a man watching a squirrel try to cross the highway. I just thought we had more trust, she said quietly while tying her sneakers. We do, I said. But apparently we have more dinner guests now, too. Boom. That ended the conversation. Now, if I told you I didn't feel even a flicker of doubt, I'd be lying. I'm not a sociopath. I didn't like the idea of using Rachel to make a point. But I also wasn't about to let my wife turn our marriage into a bed and breakfast for emotional intimacy with other men. So I did what any self-respecting man would do. I cleaned the damn house, and I mean really cleaned it. Polished the chrome, fluffed the couch pillows, bought some high-end bourbon, and even lit one of those obnoxiously expensive candles she always picks up from that store with the French name no one can pronounce. If we were hosting partners for our friendly evening plans, I figured we should do it properly. Friday night came fast, faster than I expected. Around 6:45, I heard the unmistakable purr of a BMW M4 pulling into the driveway, Rachel's car. Custom rims, red leather interior, matte black paint job. The kind of car that makes neighbors raise their eyebrows and wives reevaluate their wardrobes. Ellie was halfway through her third outfit change when the doorbell rang. I'll get it, I said, straightening my collar. I opened the door, and there she stood, Rachel Hennings. 5'10" without heels, 6'2" with. Athletic sculpted arms, dark waves down her back, and that look in her eyes like she was 2 steps ahead in a chess game you didn't even know you were playing. Her dress was cut just low enough to raise questions and just classy enough to shut them down. Well, damn, I said. You clean up all right, she grinned. You too. I almost didn't recognize you without the gym sweat and protein shake. I stepped aside and let her in. Rachel walked into my house like she'd been there before, smooth, confident, not a trace of hesitation. Ellie came down the stairs 5 seconds later, wearing her 5th outfit and the expression of a woman who just found out her safe dinner with a coworker had turned into an actual competition. Ellie, Rachel said, offering a hand like a CEO at a board meeting. I've heard so much about you. Nick says you two are exploring some exciting new relationship formats. Ellie blinked. What? Open marriage, Rachel said sweetly. Progressive stuff, very European. I think it's brave. I swear to God you could hear the circuits short-circuiting in Ellie's head. It's not exactly, she stammered. Rachel laughed gently like she'd just seen a kitten try to bark. Don't worry, I'm not here to steal anyone's husband. We're just having a little fun, right, Nick? Just dinner, I said, like friends do. It was beautiful. I almost felt bad. Almost. And then the doorbell rang again. Time for Act 2. I opened the door to find Thomas, or as I now thought of him, the human beige sweater. Average height, limp handshake, khakis that looked like they'd been ironed by his mother. He gave me a nervous smile like a kid picking up his prom date while her Marine Corps dad polishes a shotgun in the background. "Tom," I said with a warm grin, "glad you could make it. Come on in." He stepped inside, clutching a bottle of white wine that looked like it was picked up last minute at a Walgreens. Ellie hovered nearby like she didn't know where to stand. She didn't even make eye contact with Thomas. If body language could talk, hers was screaming, "Abort mission." I gestured toward her with my glass. "Your dinner date awaits, my man. Don't keep her waiting." He looked like he'd rather crawl into the trash disposal. Rachel was already sipping bourbon on the couch, legs crossed, scanning the room like a lioness watching gazelles. "So," she said to Thomas, "you're the lucky guy tonight?" Thomas looked at her, then at Ellie, then at me, and then he coughed and said, "Actually, maybe this was a bad idea." Ellie tried to recover. No, don't be silly. We're just grabbing a bite. It's fine." But it wasn't fine. Not by a long shot. You could feel the tension vibrating in the air like a stretched cable on the verge of snapping. I handed Rachel her coat. "Shall we?" She winked. "Let's." As we walked to the door, I turned back and caught Ellie watching us. Not angry, not smug, just stunned. Like she was realizing she'd started a game of poker with no cards, and someone just went all in across the table. I gave Thomas a firm handshake. "She's all yours tonight. Take good care of her." He laughed nervously. "Sure, yeah." Rachel, and I stepped into the cool night. I opened the passenger door for her, and she slid in like it was the beginning of a Bond movie. As I pulled out of the driveway, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Ellie standing there in the doorway, arms crossed, no longer so sure about this whole just friends concept. And me? I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just drove. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do. It's letting them watch you do it in style. Rachel and I didn't go far. We didn't need to. She suggested this rooftop bar downtown, the Hollow and Ember, the kind of place that serves drinks with dehydrated citrus slices and charges $19 for a cocktail named something like Smoke of the Forest. But I didn't object. It had leather booths, dim lighting, and a view that made even bad decisions look elegant. She ordered something with mezcal and rosemary smoke. "I just got a bourbon neat. I wasn't there to flirt. I was there to prove a point. You always drink, like a man on a mission," Rachel said, swirling her glass. "I like that." "Only when the mission involves fire," I replied, "and poorly thought-out dinner invitations." She leaned back, amused. "So, what's the endgame here, Nick? You trying to win her back or teach her a lesson?" I looked out across the city skyline for a beat before answering. "Why can't it be both?" Rachel didn't push it. She respected a man who didn't spill everything on the first date, even a fake one. We spent maybe an hour there. I didn't touch her. Didn't cross a line. We laughed a little, mostly at the absurdity of it all. But I could tell Rachel was enjoying herself in that slightly wicked way, like a cat watching a goldfish try to evolve legs. Around 10:15, I told her I wanted to head back. "Already?" she asked, raising a brow. "Yeah," I said. "I want to see how the other dinner went." The ride home was quiet. She didn't ask questions, and I didn't volunteer answers. When we pulled up in the driveway, the house looked dark, except for a single light on in the kitchen. I walked her to the door, and she paused on the porch. "I'm not gonna lie," she said. "This was more fun than half the real dates I've been on," I smiled. "Thanks for coming, and for being cool about it." She leaned in, not too close, just enough. "You know, if you ever want to really go out sometime," I chuckled, "I'll keep that in the vault." She nodded, turned, and walked back to her Batmobile of a BMW like she'd just filmed the season finale of a Netflix drama. I stepped into the house, and there she was. Ellie sitting at the kitchen island in one of my old hoodies, legs pulled up, hair in a loose bun like she'd been through a small storm and was still drying off. Her face was flushed, but not from alcohol. Thomas was nowhere in sight. The wine bottle was half finished, and the 2 glasses told me just enough. It hadn't gone well. I didn't say a word. Just walked past her and poured myself a glass of water. The silence stretched like a rubber band between us. She was the first to break it. He left early. I took a sip. Didn't seem like the resilient type. She hesitated. He got uncomfortable. I nodded. Can't blame him. That's a lot of pressure for a guy who shops for cologne at CVS. Ellie bit her lip. You didn't have to go that far with Rachel. Go what far? I asked, genuinely curious. We had drinks, laughed a little, no backseat action, no messy hotel check-ins, just 2 friends. Isn't that the new gold standard? She exhaled hard, like someone trying to blow out a fire. That had already moved on to the drapes. She's intense. Yeah. She's also real. You don't have to guess with Rachel. What you see is what you get. Not sure I can say the same about a woman who plans a date and then gets upset when her husband accepts the new rules. I didn't plan a date, she snapped. Then what would you call it? There was a pause. Not long. Just enough for the air to turn sharp. I don't know anymore, she said quietly, and that was the most honest thing she'd said in 2 days. I walked past her again, this time to the living room, and dropped onto the couch. She followed like she didn't want to, but also didn't want to be left behind. He wasn't who I thought he was, she mumbled, sitting on the armrest. Who did you think he was? I asked. Safe, she said. Funny, like harmless. I looked up at her. You wanted harmless? I wanted different, she admitted. I don't know. Something that made me feel like I still mattered, that I still had options. Now here's the thing about being married. You don't expect your spouse to be perfect, but you do expect them not to go searching for validation in the arms or dining booths of other people. You do matter, I said, leveling with her. But if you ever go looking for proof of that outside this house again, you're going to find a lawyer before you find closure. She blinked. Her jaw tightened, just slightly. You think I'm a monster? No, I said. I think you're a bored, impulsive woman who doesn't realize what she already has. She didn't respond to that, just stared at her hands, for a while. Then came the line I didn't expect. Did you like her? I didn't answer right away. I wanted to, but the truth needed a filter. She's not you, I said finally. Her head turned. Is that a compliment or a warning? Depends on which version of you we get moving forward. We sat there for a while, the room heavy with unsaid things and burnt candle wax. Outside, the wind picked up. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked like it knew secrets we didn't. I stood up. I'm going to bed. You coming? She nodded slowly. Yeah. We didn't touch that night. Just lay there side by side, pretending the space between us wasn't the shape of a man named Thomas and a woman with heels taller than our kitchen stool. But something had shifted. She knew it, and so did I. I woke up before she did. Old military. Habit. Doesn't matter what time I go to bed, my body still thinks sunrise is a personal challenge. I stared at the ceiling fan for a few minutes, let the silence settle. No messages, no calls. Just the heavy quiet of 2 people who'd gone to sleep next to each other but not with each other. Ellie shifted under the covers. I could feel her eyes on me before she said a word. You didn't come home angry, she whispered. That scared me more than if you had. I didn't respond right away. I slid out of bed, stretched, scratched the back of my neck like the answer might be hiding there. I wasn't angry, I finally said. I was clear. That's when she sat up, her voice tight. Did you sleep with her? Now that woke me up. I turned, met her eyes. No. She stared at me like she wasn't sure whether to believe it or whether believing it would make her feel better or worse. Did you want to? Doesn't matter, I said. I didn't. She took a breath. It wasn't a sigh. It was more like an exhale before a free fall. I didn't sleep with Thomas either. I nodded. Figured. He looked like a guy who's afraid of microwaves. I doubt he could handle you. That got a half smile out of her. Brief, faint, but there. I was stupid, she said, pulling the comforter tighter around her like it could block out regret. It didn't feel like a betrayal until I saw you with her. And then suddenly, it wasn't fun anymore. It was real and ugly, and I couldn't breathe. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at her, not the version with makeup and Instagram angles, but the raw, morning-faced Ellie who used to steal my hoodies and eat. Ice cream out of the tub at midnight. I get it, I said. It's easy to forget something's real until you see someone else hold it. But this wasn't just a misstep, Ellie. You don't accidentally schedule a dinner and dress up for it and call it nothing. You went looking for something. She nodded. I did. And I didn't find it. I ran a hand through my hair. What were you even looking for? She hesitated. Then, honest as hell, to feel chosen. That hit me harder than anything else had. Chosen? I repeated. Ellie, I married you. I built a life around you. I've turned down more advances than a bouncer at a Vegas pool party. How much more chosen do you need? Her eyes filled, but she blinked it back. It's not rational. It's not fair, but it's how I felt. I nodded slowly. Okay, then here's my irrational, not fair truth. I can forgive you for being stupid, but I won't forgive you if it happens again. One more dinner with another guy, and I'll be packing my protein powder and my bench press and leaving you the house. She laughed, short and sharp through her nose. You'd leave the house? Of course, I said. I'm not petty, but I'm not stupid either. She leaned forward, wrapped her arms around her knees. Do you think we can fix this? I think we can try, but it starts with no more secrets. And therapy. She wrinkled her nose. Like a real therapist? No, Ellie, a fake one I found behind the gym's squat rack. Yes, a real one. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in. I stood, walked to the kitchen, and started the coffee. The normality of the act almost made me laugh. You go through emotional warfare at night, and by morning you're arguing with the espresso machine about water pressure. She joined me 10 minutes later, quiet but more centered, and that's when my phone buzzed. I glanced down. Text from Rachel. Hope everything's... Okay, I meant what I said. If she slips again, you've got backup. Ellie looked over my shoulder and read it too. I didn't hide it. Is that her? She asked. Yeah. She stared at the message, then looked at me. I guess that's what happens when you open doors. You don't always get to choose who walks in. I shrugged. Or who stands outside waiting. She didn't ask me to delete it. She didn't ask if I'd respond. She just took her coffee and said, I don't want to lose this. You already almost did, I said. That's what makes it worth fighting for now. She nodded, and we drank our coffee in silence. But it was a new kind of silence. The kind where things start to rebuild, not overnight, not perfectly, but with enough mortar to hold the cracks together.